What's up, fam? Welcome back. What's up, fam? Welcome back to Still Single, hosted by Rob Moore, Jordan Kahana, and Alex Weber. We're three besties in our mid 30s. We're still mid 30s. And we are still single over here. And it is good. It's good to see you both. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Excited to see you guys. Um, yeah, it's coming together a little bit. The last 2 weeks has been a little run of the mill for us getting these together. We were doing like
Yeah.
really good for like a month and a half there of like getting these out on like a Tuesday, setting it up. We had like guests coming in and doing really great interviews, and now we're like scrambling as like our schedules are starting to pick up, and which is great. Like,
It's
I,
a good problem to have. Yeah.
yeah. So
I
it's
kind
I,
of
I miss
like
you
our
guys.
I kind of like our grip it and rip it sometimes ones. Sometimes some good stuff. Jordan
yeah,
hates
I'm
it with a
I'm I'm
passion.
the outlier a little bit.
I'm in the middle. It's like Webb loves the grip it and rip it. Jordan
Mhm.
likes more of like, hey, we've done some research and we have a topic, and I'm in the middle because there is some fun that comes from just grip it and rip it and just improv and just seeing what
Mhm.
happens. And then sometimes Jordan, you hit us with a topic and I'm like, that's so
Hmm.
good. Like we're so professional.
Mhm.
Like we actually know what we're talking about. Which we do. I mean, we've been in the trenches for decades, guys. Like we
We've lived it on the streets. Like I wouldn't say we are book smart in love, but
yeah,
we are street smart,
yeah,
Yes.
definitely street smart.
Mhm.
battle
Yeah,
tested. I don't
Mhm.
know.
literally. I
Certified pre-owned, maybe just used. I don't know.
What kind of interior you got, Alex, in that
All
in that
right.
pre-owned?
It's leather, but like if
Okay.
you look at it more, you're like, is this real leather? Or maybe it's like it's leather, but it's not like Italian Ferrari leather. It's like, okay, it's a little worn, but it's still good.
But it's good leather. It's good leather. What kind
It's
of
gonna
color car would
support
you be?
you. It's gonna support you, make you feel held. And yeah.
Oh man. Well, I think you guys look great. I'm headed to Austin tomorrow for a wedding. One of my best friends is getting married, and it's funny. I invited somebody to come to the after party, and then I reneged the invitation after like a weird text, and I feel so much better because it was just I don't know. I was just like I was a little worried that the vibes would be off, and then that weird text just like made it. I was just like, no. And I ended up sharing the text with a couple of my boys, which I told you guys, and they're like, no, 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 no.
It's an intimate setting to bring her into.
Yeah. It felt a little quick to begin with, but of just like, hey, just come if you're in town, like,
Yeah.
just open bar, all that kind of good stuff. Was so the immediate reaction of your guy friends in that group chat was just like, we're out, like get
They
rid
were
of
just
her.
like, no, like the vibes are not okay. Like this is about David. Like she's like, no. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And that was
Hmm.
also my original response to the text. This was last night. I was just like, this isn't okay. Like you don't talk to people like this, regardless.
Hmm.
We
She
just gotta know what it is.
responded.
Really read it in
Yeah.
Ooh,
real
we're in
time.
real time.
Yeah, she responded, being like, you may have misconstrued my text, just like how I misconstrued you were ordering me what to wear and not just an analogy.
I
What?
mean,
Whoa.
you're gonna have to just do the whole back and forth now for everyone.
Yeah, you need to
No,
give
it's
some
done.
context.
I'm
Dude,
No,
never
for
talking.
the audience, you need
there's
to give
no
some
names.
context.
We'll
Yeah.
call
No, no,
her
no, 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 no.
Karen
I'm
Filippelli. I'm on a
done.
big
I'm
office run.
done. I wish her all the best, and that is what I genuinely want. I wish her the best.
Hmm.
I will say though, and I've expressed this to Weber, and he's reciprocated it back to me, is like in my singledom right now, like I feel empowered. Like I don't feel like I need a girlfriend. I don't feel like I need a partner in crime or even like a co-parent for Leia, which was such a desire after Noelle died, understandably. But I feel very much just like I'm just Bobby. Like I'm just gonna do me for the foreseeable future, and then like somebody amazing will come into my orbit. And I really do trust that. And it doesn't mean I don't get lonely or feel isolated, but I just feel that way. And then Alex, I mean, you asked me today, like, how are the apps, And I will say, like, the apps can be sometimes really degrading, but they can also be like, if you look at them and frame them in this like, oh, potential to just like go have a good time and meet somebody new, instead of putting so much pressure on the apps, they actually they're kind of lovely.
Well, this is the best Bobby. And I mean, dude, it's nuts because there's been just so many seasons and chapters, and we don't need to recount all, though we can. But I just think about a year ago where there was a lot of questioning,
Yes.
a lot of uncertainty, a lot of feeling like you very much needed that person, and almost pressure that that person wasn't there yet, and all of that.
Yes.
And then there was embracing, or maybe accepting, okay, maybe this is just going to be Bobby. But now there's excitement about being Bobby. And also, dude, you sound so good. Like Jordan and I will call Rob just, because we all call each other all the time. And you just sound so good. You give such great advice. You're present. You're working out, man. You're fit. You just hosted for TikTok. You're going to be in a movie. Like you're Bobby in the best way that I've seen in like 10 years. And so
Wow. Thanks,
just
dude.
go.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Just going, baby. Just go. Just go. And Jordan, you've got.
Okay, do me next. Do
Okay,
me
okay.
next.
Yeah, do Jordan.
So you got to give us an update though, because you said a lot of exciting things. But then also, dude, I asked Rob, is it a spoon on your wall?
Yeah. Have we not talked about this?
We've definitely talked about the spoon on Jordan's wall.
So I saw it at the Goodwill that's near my house and thought it was really funny. And as an adult, you can buy really dumb things. And so it reminded me from Zoolander when he sees his reflection in the spoon for the first time and realizes that he's really, really ridiculously good looking. So I have a spoon hanging on my wall to remind myself to know that I'm really, really
ridiculously good looking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you are.
No one gets the joke. It's a 22-year-old joke. The movie came out in 2001.
Wow. Have you ever
and it's
eaten
like,
with it just to feel like a little small guy?
no, it's pretty gross to be honest. And I got it from Goodwill. So
that'd be kind of a funny TikTok though, like trying to eat with a giant spoon.
In a normal sized bowl and everything else.
I could see that doing pretty well.
I do have this really large Tupperware though that maybe I could just do, like Jason
like
Segel and Forgetting Sarah Marshall,
Yeah.
where he's just like with the salad bowl, just eating the giant.
And I used to have the freshest cereal.
Yeah.
And Bill Hader's like, actually, when he's deleting the photos, and he's like, actually, you're not really deleting them. You're just moving them into the trash. You have to actually like control all delete. And he's like, no.
Yeah,
the movie freaks
out. That's really good.
Really good.
I realized, did we talk about this on the podcast at one point that I went through a breakup and then did a solo trip to Hawaii, like 2 months later or something like that?
Dude, I did a similar like Forgetting Sarah Marshall breakup trip as well. Wait, tell me about yours.
Well, it's kind of crazy because I did this after Forgetting Sarah Marshall came out, and I didn't even put the two together until like years after. But yeah, was going through a really hard breakup at the time, and actually had a flight voucher, and was just like, I really want to do this, the Oahu Stairs. It's like this semi-illegal hike in Oahu to do. And my parents actually, for their honeymoon, went to Hawaii. I'm almost positive that that's what they did. Either way, they went on a trip to Hawaii, and in Maui, there's this hotel in this area called the Royal Kahana. And so I was like, I want to go check that out and take some photos there and do that kind of stuff. So with the mile vouchers and all that kind of stuff, just booked this trip and went out for like 4 or 5 days. And yeah, had a really good time. It was great.
Hell yeah, dude. So my forgetting Sarah Marshall story is after my ex and I broke up. We had both been invited to a wedding in Cabo, and it was
Hmm.
for like a mutual friend. I was obviously way closer to this friend. Anyways, so I ended up going stag and going solo, and I just remember like going to the wedding, by myself, and at points being very sad and like being super like, what have I done? Like it would have
Hmm.
been so nice to have her. And I got a nice smooch at the wedding, and it was just like it was great. And I was just like, I think after a breakup, you have these moments where you just like you relearn how to be alone. And in those like moments of relearning how to be alone, it's scary because you're just like, oh my
Hmm.
God, I'm alone. But then you come out of it so much stronger. And I don't know, breakups are brutal, obviously. Uh so so yeah. Webbs, how are you doing, man? What's going on in your life?
Oh man, I love you dudes. How do we do this? I'm in a moment of I guess just, letting things unfold. And I think you have very strong ideas about how some things will work out. And
You catch the early flight back from San Diego, expecting to surprise your girlfriend.
so we've got old school forgetting Sarah Marshall, Zoolander.
Oh my God.
If we can throw in a Billy Madison, it'll be complete.
Just a
Um
just a normal way guys
That
communicate.
Veronica Vaughn is one piece of ace.
I know from experience. No, no, you
Nope,
don't.
no, you don't. Yeah, but
Just like
Billy
how
Madison,
guys like uh bond over just talking movie quotes to each other and
dude, it's
just
the best. All right, Webb. So you were
no,
saying,
it's
you were
okay,
saying
guys. I just didn't have a movie quote on locked away.
we got a great shirt on. I mean, you
Thank you,
look
man.
you look phenomenal. I
Thank you,
I, I got to
guys.
say the haircut looks good.
mhm.
Thank you so
You're
much,
very
guys. Thank you.
slender. You look healthy, still
Thanks, guys.
strong.
Where are we at in our abs journey? I know that this has been an ongoing
No,
thing and you
we're
keep
reinvigorated.
verbalizing.
We're
Uh-huh.
reinvigorated. Yeah, I'm in a moment of just letting some dust settle and navigating some things, but I'll definitely have an update for the still single fam come next episode. I think Rob and Jordan and I were talking offline, and they're great friends, and we're just letting things. I think patience and time is as we grow older and we're approaching our mid 30s. I think we've learned that
Approaching? I think we're
yeah,
in our
just
mid.
skip
Okay.
it.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think patience and time, not being impulsive or rash. And so but there's an update for the Still Sing fam.
Nice. Well, you look great. You sound
Thanks, man.
good. I, 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 I was just thinking about age in like mid 30s, and I was out Saturday. I met somebody out in the wild, and she goes, "How?" She asked how old I was, and I was like, "I'm 35." And she was with her friend, and like they both were like, "Oh my God!" And basically, the reaction was like perfect age, and she was 29, and she was like, "This
Mhm.
is perfect age," and it just kind of like dude, I have some friends who are like 33, 34 girlfriends, and they're dating 50-year-olds. Like I think age is so it doesn't matter. It really, really boils down to the connection and the connection you feel with that person. And I really don't think it matters. Um, and I feel like almost age is just a way for somebody to like compartmentalize a situation. So
Yeah.
like if I start dating somebody new and my buddy goes, "Hey, how old is she?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's 27." He's like, "Oh, great age. Like 27 is great." If I'm like, "She's, 38." He's like, "Oh, great, okay. Like, how does that make you feel?" And I'm like, "I don't know. She's amazing. It doesn't fucking
Mhm.
matter." But it's just like a way to compartmentalize, like it's a way to organize who is who and how to respond to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so age is just such a thing because it's also how you measure where people are along in life. I went to this big event yesterday
Right.
with like all these speakers and authors and things like that, and super cool. And the guy running it, I kind of just thought he was in his like late 40s just because of what he'd done. and dude's 42. And I was like, dude's a crusher. And it
Mhm.
just, makes you can't help but reflect on your own. And then you're like, well, Bieber, or LeBron was in the NBA at 19. And it's one of these things where the truth of life is you have to focus on your own journey, whether that's career or love or self-growth. You just have to, and you can be informed by other people. You can be encouraged. You can be pissed off or frustrated by other people, but it's still going to, all roads point back to, you just have to focus on your own path.
You said you were in a big office kick right now. Isn't there a quote
Yes.
with Michael Scott where he's like, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, like what do they all have in common? They didn't go to business school either. They just went straight to the NBA from high school. Like it's something like that, and it
Yeah.
made me think as you're like like yeah, I think the biggest issue that holds people back is comparison,
Yeah.
and you know, being like, I'm not where that person is at that point. Like you're saying that you're looking at
Right.
people's ages and then being like, okay, I'm X age. This person is either older or like if someone's
Right.
older doing great stuff, you're like, cool. That gives me a little like space. I hope 4 years from now, I'm where this person is, or seeing someone 6, 7 years younger than you who's started their own business and making a ton of money, and you're like, well shit, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
There's always comparison. There's always that reminder that there's always going to be someone younger making more money. There's always going to be someone younger better looking, someone older better looking, someone older making more money. I
Mhm.
guess maybe the older better looking is a bit of an anomaly, but like still that idea of the grass is greener a little bit. But if you can just focus on yourself and the path that you're on and taking care of yourself, that's what I've learned a lot through this depression and mental health spat that I had, at the beginning of this year, and kind of momentum starting to get back into my favor and slowly building that foundation and wins and just like the general positivity. And I can't control what other people are doing. And if I'm just going to sit and compare the whole time, like I'm going to lose, as
Right.
opposed to, hey, I can control what I'm doing and the path that I want to get to and go, and what works for me. How does this,
Right.
that's what you need to focus on.
You're so right. Cause even outside of, career and into what our podcast is about, there's people who have maybe the family that you want at this point, and there's people
Mm-hmm.
who don't. And so I've thought about this a lot. There's however many billion of people, right? There's only two people of absolute positions: the person who is doing the absolute worst in the world, and God give rest to their soul, and the person who's doing the absolute best in the world. All the other billions of people, someone's better and someone's worse. So if
Hmm.
you're looking for it, we're going to find it. We're going to find someone who's happier or healthier or better
Mm-hmm.
looking or more money or family better. So yeah, it's
Right. And but can you also say that maybe the worst is a little bit more objective, but the best is a little
sure.
subjective?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, I definitely I'm having some reflections on like my health right now, where I'm 35. I feel honestly like the strongest I've ever felt, but I'm also really aware of my mortality. And I'm really
Yeah.
aware that like, okay,
Mm,
35 times two is 70. And like, average age is like 72 right now for men. And like, granted, I've had grandparents live into their 90s, and I, God willing, will make it to 100. Like, I really would love to live that long. And I've actually found myself being like, I want to meet my grandkids.
right.
I would love for Leia to eventually get married, obviously, and have some children. And I would love to meet my grandkids. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'll be like, I'll be ready to go. And then I have other thoughts where I'm like, dude, you're 35. You got so much fucking time. Like, you are just starting. Like, it feels like I've been here
Yeah.
for a bit, but I really feel like I'm just starting as like Rob Moore, like who I am and who I want to be. And each day working on that. And going back to this health idea, it's like there are certain things I can do. Like last night, I made a bunch of desserts. I called Weber and I was like, dude, I baked And lately I've been baking when I'm just like really hungry, and I just like bake a bunch of like brownies or cookies, and then I feel like it's okay to just eat them all because I made them. And I ate so many sweets last night that I got sick. And I was like on the phone with Weber. I'm like, dude, I gotta stop eating these. And he's like, just one more, just one more. And yeah, so I guess
How were
today I
they?
woke. They were so good, man.
Mhm.
They were so tasty. And I guess
Mm.
the point I'm trying to make is like today I woke up, I'm like, I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna eat clean. I got some on-camera stuff coming up and like gotta get like clean, dude. Like clean it up the next 72 hours.
It does make me think about one of the early episodes that we talked about how I just like grab like those four M&Ms at a time, and you're like, yeah, and I just eat the whole bag. And for Valentine's Day, my mom sent me this bag of Hershey Kisses with almonds in it.
Yum.
And for me, after dinner, like late night, I just need a little chocolate, a little bit, and it makes me I think each time I just grab like two or three, and it just reminds me of that of just being like, man, Rob's like, not being like Rob would probably eat the whole bag, but it just like makes me think of the conversation every time of just like, oh, I just needed a few,
Dude, I would
just
have had
a little
six.
sweets.
I would have had six for sure. And the first three I would have inhaled. Like I wouldn't even know that I've had them. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm actually eating chocolate now. Like on the fourth one, it would register. But yeah, I mean, I going back to what you guys are talking about age, and then that's like a way to almost think of it. I had a friend or my best friend's wife, Lauren. She's very just just awesome human being, and I remember her saying like, I feel like I haven't like puberty or something. She's like, the puberty of like adulthood where it's like you haven't developed as much because you haven't bought the house or you haven't gotten married yet or you don't have the kid. Like these things. And then if you like relate it to almost puberty, it's like you haven't matured, yet. But again, like puberty is out of your control. Like getting hair on your balls is out of your control. It just happens.
Mm-hmm. Are you tying a loop to this, or are you just
No, I'm just talking about hair on my balls.
we're
I,
just
I, I,
getting
I want let's connect these dots here. So you're saying there's like, well, there is no, and this is also a thing you'll hear this in probably for women too, but for men, there's no rite of passage in modern society. The closest thing that we have is you graduated college, maybe, or maybe the first time you had sex, but none of those things are actually oh, you've gone through something that has now evolved you into what we all feel has the characteristics of like a strong man or whatever that may be. There was like vision quests and you have to do this and all that throughout history. And
Mhm.
I
Are
think
you
if I'm
saying
hearing,
like because we like haven't gone to war or like
there's just no ritual in our society that is a rite of passage where you go from boyhood to manhood in like a ceremonial, strategic, intentional way. And so, I mean, I really, I obviously survive. It's like society, we're not in tribes anymore, but there still is that void where some guys go through it at 18. They go through an experience where maybe they had to step up in their family and handle some real things and they become a man at 18. Other times men never do. They're 70, 80,
right?
90s. And I've been my own journey. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle where parts of myself, I'm like, you're a man. And then other parts, I'm like, oh, you're acting like a boy. Um, but I guess I'm just drawing the parallel to in adulthood. Similarly, there's no like rite of passage. Is it getting married? Is it, I don't know, getting your first whatever job? Is it buying a house? What is your, to use your expression, like puberty of adulthood?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I know that like there's plenty of people who've gotten married and divorced, and then it's like there's well, the fundamental truth is we're always growing. As soon as we
Mhm.
stop growing, we die.
Mhm.
Like you're always growing as a man and as a father or as a husband or a business owner or comedian. Like you're always growing, and as soon as you stop growing, I think that's when life ends. Like that's when you're just like, okay, well, I'm dying now, you know? So I just don't I think there are these chapter markers Like I've been married. I've had a child. I have a child. Like, and I tell Leia all the time, uh, you know, the two happiest days of my life were marrying your mom and when you were born. And they were like, how do I say, like, I mean, in my singledom, I have thought like, well, dude, like you've already been married and you already have a child. Like, what is the rush? So I guess there is those markers in my head. Whereas you guys, I know, like Alex, you and I have had numerous conversations where you're like, I would like, I want to get married. I want to have the family. I want to have the kids. And I know you're going to have that. That's going to happen. It doesn't mean you're behind in any means, because you're not. You're just exactly where you should be right now.
Thanks, man.
And same with Jay. Like we are all exactly where we should be, and I have to remind myself that all the time.
Yeah, I think the difference is that one is out of our control and like hormonal, like how just the timeline of that works out for people, and then it's a bit of just a maturation process and just going through like taking those steps towards that, and the commitments that it takes to make those decisions of adulthood. Like what came to my mind a little bit is like when I bought my car, I was
Mhm.
like, that's such an adult thing. That like
Mhm.
that's a like leveling up. It almost feels like video game elements in my head of just like, oh cool, we did this. We're moving on to the next advanced level. We know how to do this. We know the process, like all that kind of stuff. Like Alex, you even like selling your car, like being like, I've never had to do, like that kind of stuff where it's just like, okay, this is how you do it. These are the steps. This is leveling up in the same way that maybe getting married, like proposing, getting married, having children are like exponential levels,
Yeah.
just because of the selflessness that you need to have and just the dedication and the commitment and the choices that you are making versus like buying a house is very important, but like that's just a level up and a step in a process that culturally we have decided as like a next level thing. Granted, there's like taxes and the importance of that and having land, and there's so many different avenues for it. But um, just because I think it's also like decision making and choices, like someone who has a family and has bought a house and all that kind of stuff can still be very immature. Like I know some guys like that who are just like, you're kind of a piece of shit. Like you're still like living very childishly, but
Totally.
you have a very good job that, is like in finance. And so, but still like kind of a shitheel at the same time for people who never got married or like don't own property or do things like that, who are just like very kind human beings and are just like, hey, this is my path. I think once again, I think it all circles back to comparison and where you are and where you should be and where you want to be. Because ultimately, I do think for most people's cases is that being single or being where they are is a choice. It wasn't forced on them the way that puberty was.
Hmm.
Do you guys, I'm just thinking, would it be interesting to,
Mike,
would
Mike,
it be
dude.
interesting, I don't know, ask ourselves where are we comparing ourselves too much, whether it's in love or career or self or
A thought I had was like, I just remember being 26. I got married at 26, and I remember being like, if I don't have $1 million in the bank and like have everything kind of like accomplished by the time I'm 30, I'm a fucking failure. And I remember really feeling that way in my 20s, just like racing towards this finish line that society or myself or my parents or whatever like has just like created. And I don't know where the image comes from. I remember hating so much on like Zac Efron, being like, Zac Efron is just killing it in High School Musical 1, 2, and 3. And he's got tons of money. And like, I'm comparing myself to Robert Pattinson and like these guys who really hit it big in their 20s and I just remember 30. And this is pretty unanimous. I mean, a lot of people are like, by 30, I got to be here. I got to be there.
Mm.
And the truth is like, I've only really started finding myself since I was like 33, 34, like really just like being like, oh, this is you, Bobby. Like here, like lean into this. So to answer your question, Alex, places that I compare myself to that I would like to stop, definitely physical, definitely like body. I definitely am like, wow, that dude is chiseled, or that dude is so much healthier than I am. And then I actually like, I think it would be better if I was just like, wait, man, like think about the last 9 months and kind of the transformation you've had, you're doing as well as you can. So I compare myself there. I compare myself to some of my closest friends who are married with kids in a house all the time. And I'm just like, well, they got it. I had it and now I don't. And then I get really sad. Um, and then I also compare financial and success all the time on like Instagram. It's very hard to like see people posting deadline articles about booking this movie or TV show or producing this. And I'm just like, damn.
Well, you bring up someone really, I'm entering a season where I do need to just focus on myself and feeling good about myself and purpose and what I'm doing and all of that to an even heightened degree. And I thought about that. I woke up at like 4 a.m. My mind was going. And so it was just like going. And so I was like, oh, all right. And like somehow I ended up on Instagram. And it was then when I saw someone and it made me have those feelings, well, I'm not doing well, I'm not enough, I'm not far along enough. And so I don't know. I think I'm realizing, Alex, it's okay for me right now to go on social media as a contributor, as a creator, as someone putting something out there and communicating with people, whether that's friends or sending a silly meme or I met a cool dude yesterday at the event and we're sending voice notes. Like as that, it is good. But as a consumer, maybe once a day for one scroll, but I guess I'm going in the weeds on this because I think this happens for a lot of people. It's such a default behavior that I have is just opening it up in a lull. And it 9 times out of 10 makes me feel worse. And I think at a time where maybe, I'm bouncing back from something, I'm trying to focus on myself, all of that. Why add another element to your day multiple times a day where you tend to feel worse after?
Well, I really think social media is a substance, just like anything else. I think your cell phone is a substance. And when you look at it that way, I mean, I'm fully addicted to my phone. I'm fully addicted to social media. I check it every day. When I don't check it, I get anxious. It is a substance. Like there's no two ways about it. So I think you framing it as more of a tool to like share your voice and share content and share your POV on the world is a beautiful thing. And that is kind of the dichotomy of social media because it can be a tool to really get your voice out there, but it is a substance. And I've tried to set up parameters for myself and it's very, very hard.
It
But I
is.
want to go back to your original question, which was what are areas that you are comparing yourself to?
Jordan?
I was muted. I do want to jump in, and I can answer that as well because I feel very similar to both of you guys of looking at that. Especially as I'm in a transition period of like I've been doing full-time content creation for May will be 6 years and doing social media stuff and all that. And I've just kind of been like, I want to work with a team. I want to be working on like bigger budgeted projects and doing bigger things. And, change is always hard for anyone and whatever you're trying to change. And especially with myself and my headspace, I was trying to change. And so it was just like this patient game. And it was crazy because it felt as though so as I was like looking for more freelance work and doing certain things, I found myself being on LinkedIn a little bit more regularly, which could be weirdly like more overwhelming than Instagram or TikTok. Granted, like maybe because I'm just used to seeing the Instagram things of like that person's better looking than me and in better shape and like traveling here while I'm not, even though, those things just kind of like have come second nature versus like being on LinkedIn where it's like, hey, so and so got promoted, and hey, this person I went to high school with is director of, operations at this company and this and that. And it's just like, am I like this weird, Alex, you're saying that um seeing people getting wins. And it was one of those things that I was just like, this is a downtime for me in this season of change and wanting to shift and figure out where I want to go. But also reminding myself, and I was working on this in therapy a lot, is reminding myself once again, like it's a roller coaster. The momentum always like flows. And there's been seasons in the past where I've gotten really big wins and really great things, and when people weren't. But we're always so self-focused that like you're not thinking about someone else going through those struggles.
Right.
And the same way, also, Alex, is like there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people looking at your Instagram stories of being like, damn, you're on the road again, talking somewhere here. You're doing that, like you're constantly traveling. Your work hasn't slowed down. You're connecting with people. The messages that you're sharing, that you're like enhancing people's experiences. So, this is the pot calling the kettle black a little bit of like you're diluting the wins that you're still getting along the way. And Rob at the same time too is like, yeah, I wish I played in the NBA. Yeah, I wish I was like on like writing a TV show or on like starring in a TV show or movie or things like that. And once you kind of remind yourself that there's 8 billion people in the world and there's 5 actor, there's like the small percentage of people that get to do that in the pipeline is just like so bizarre that, and just kind of like a little understanding and allowing yourself that like you're actually more normal than looking at this celebrity, like normal is probably the wrong word, but like they're more of an outlier and against the odds. And yes, you want to rise above that and do that. But once you can remind yourself of like, there's also a ton of opportunities, and you're just like, once again, your wheels are really starting to move. Like, the text that you sent me the other night where you're like, yeah, I have this going on, and then this, and then I booked this, and then I have this. And it's just like, that's awesome. Hell yeah. Like that's where it starts. And you just got to kind of start somewhere. And also looking at like Alan Rickman, who didn't, make it until he was in his 40s for Die Hard. And he's like, he changed how US film looked at bad guys in action. Like, everyone tried to be him then moving forward, or the different ways that just reminding yourself that way, because everyone's timelines are different. And so for me, reminding myself in so many different ways of like, we've talked about like the Logan Pauls or the David Dobrik's, or even like, the creators that are doing certain things, or even people in my lane who are popping off. But there's just a shift of importance and value, and what like the time that you put into it, I think.
Yeah.
That was a total snappy, dude. That is snaps on snaps, Jay.
That was
Thanks,
a good
guys.
flow.
Thank you.
Alex, how'd that make you feel?
Good. It made me, want to take stock more and feel grateful for where we're at and how many good things are going on in all of our lives, like all of the blessings and wonderful things. And even the sad moments, I've gone to a place recently of if I'm going through sadness or something like that, even zooming out to, that's a gift of the human experience, like this life that we lead. That's kind of when I need something to be grateful for, when I'm really sad, it's like, well, that's part of like why we come here to live this life, is to experience all of the experiences and the depths and the emotions. And so it's okay. It's okay to experience it. But I really love what Jordan said, and just to take a little more stock of an ownership and gratitude for who we are and what we're doing. And, there's another version of all of us that could be, we're all so, knock on all the wood, we're all so much aligned in what we're doing. And there's for all of us a version that we've experienced where we could totally be doing a different life that's so out of alignment from who we are, who we feel called to be. So just gratitude for that,
I was just thinking of like when Jordan was like, yeah, optically, Weber, like you're traveling everywhere, and like optically, I'm trying to post like thoughty pictures of myself in like hot pink tracksuits, and I'm getting like, you're so handsome DMs, and like, there's like plenty of real people out there being like, Rob, like you're handsome and flirty, and then I'm like comparing myself to like Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is just like the new
Ooh,
body
that's
guy.
that's my number one doppelganger. Him and
You get Aaron Taylor Johnson,
yeah, I get Aaron Taylor
dude.
Johnson and
Good
Jake
for you,
Gyllenhaal.
man.
But I think
Oh,
I
you're
think
Jordan
it
just
getting.
said the two sexiest men on the planet.
no, they are not. But
They're
yeah,
not,
they're
dude.
not,
I get Adam Levine sometimes, but he's kind of a dick. And then again, I don't know,
Mhm.
Ryan Reynolds sometimes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Maybe. I see Adam Levine for you. I see Adam Levine.
All right, so I'm gonna bring up this trending topic that I want
Bring it up,
that
Let's
our
dog.
talk
audience might not
trending.
know about.
Trending.
And it was quite jarring. So it's called passport bros. And right now I have Urban Dictionary brought up, so I'm going to read the definition of what that is to give us a little guidance in how we feel about this, and we'll kind of go from there. So the passport bros are men who have chosen to seek out foreign women, typically from other countries, for relationships. They believe that Western women have been influenced by cultural and societal pressures to behave in a certain way, and that by seeking out foreign women, they can find a more authentic, fulfilling, and harmonious relationship. This is seen as a way to restore the natural balance between masculine and feminine energy, and to avoid the wickedness of Western, quote unquote, wickedness of Western women.
Wow. This
Yeah.
is a hot
And
topic.
so
And
hold on. So that has 302 up likes and 52 down likes. Here has 895 up likes, but 409 down votes. Men who understand that Western women have drunk the Kool-Aid, quote unquote, past the point of no return and got their passports to enjoy happiness and peace with a fit, friendly foreign woman. It's another way to look at it.
Who
Um,
wrote this?
This is Urban Dictionary, so it's
Oh,
a
it's
little
just
bit
a.
of it's a little like Wikipedia with Reddit involved of like people upvoting and downvoting of
All right,
what's
I'm gonna dive just head first in here.
okay.
There is truth to this romantic, idealized version of like an Italian woman or an Israeli woman or a Colombian woman that is
Mhm.
just like, oh, Robbie, like, oh, like, Robbie, you're so handsome and you have a US passport, and I work out and do Pilates every day, and I can chop up the vegetables for you, and I can like rub your feet and your shoulders. And it's like, okay, that's great. Like, there's an idealized version, and I like go to Colombia and I like have a weekend there, and I meet Maria, and she's like, oh, Robbie, you're so sexy. I loved you. I loved you so much. And like, that's beautiful, but that's like an idealized thing. There's also a very real like image of a strong American woman who's like, she works, she works at this amazing company, and she like runs a team, and she still goes to Pilates, obviously. And like, she's a great cook, and she still loves me, and like, but is still like career focused, and like wants those things too. Like wants an American dream for herself. So I guess there's two idealized versions of female energy. And I hope I'm not coming off just totally off base right now.
well, the accents were really good. That's the thing. The
Let's
accents.
Oh,
start there.
Robbie. Oh, Rob. I mean,
Yeah,
I have
we need
dated,
to
I
bring
dated a
Maria in the
Colombian.
mix
I
more
dated a
often.
Colombian, and she was like, oh, Rob.
It somewhat goes back to even like the puberty thing where I feel like these men don't know how to communicate with intelligent women and don't want someone who will push back. They're very like, once again, there's like a childish element, or uh, honestly, I think the sorry, what was it, like the wickedness, or the there's this thing going on with granted, because we're exposed to more American cultures and things, so I can only speak to that, but there seems to be an the best word that I'm going to use is infection around certain men in America that look up to like the Andrew Tates of the world, or
Mm.
the people that are very outspoken that like men are the head of the household and the women, like, the people who comment like stay in the kitchen jokes and things like that, where it's a bit antiquated and um, wanting to just have both physical and maybe like the moral high ground.
It's one of these things where it's so subjective, because for each person, the right fit is going to be the right fit. So for some couples, it might look like a stay-at-home dad, and the woman is
Sign me
working.
up.
For other couples, it might be like open marriages, and
Sure.
or this what you're talking about with the passport. And for some, and I think there's a lot of people too who, a woman who wants to be the head of a household and be a wife and be a mother, and the husband goes out and works, and that's a beautiful thing. So there's no right or wrong. It's just everyone's trying to find their right fit.
I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about age. It's like we try and compartmentalize people so that our brains can understand them. So it's like when you
Yeah.
find a couple that has like an ethically non-monogamous relationship, right? Which is something
Mhm.
that baffles me, but I'm not in that relationship, and it works for them. And in fact, it actually brings them closer in that situation. So I can't pass judgment on that. And similar where you might have a stay-at-home dad who, just works from home, and then, the woman brings home the majority of the income, and that works for them. There's really no kind of like past judgment onto those lifestyles. I think these passport boys, there is a little like high school version of myself that's like, oh, Rob, like that's
Who's
sexy.
talking, by the way? Whose voice is that?
It's like a sweet Colombian woman.
Oh, okay.
She's like, oh, Rob,
If we
like
have any
there's,
Colombian audience members, just let us know how accurate or
it's
inaccurate
pretty
that
good.
is.
I think my accent is pretty good. Uh, there's like this idyllic, you get swept up, and I think and I might be projecting here, but I think there's also on foreign women or non-American women, there's also this notion of like the American man comes and we fall in love and like we live happily ever after. Like I think there is that fairy tale image in
Which
foreign,
countries?
which countries specifically.
I'm gonna open up
Mhm.
flights.google.
Dude, you gotta go to like, I don't know, like Colombia maybe, or
Jordan
Brazil.
went.
I did. Yeah. Loved Colombia. It was great. Brazil's good too.
I mean, but I don't want to shame this idea. Like I have a buddy who lives in Mexico City, and he's like, yeah, there's so many expats that live in Mexico City, and he's like, I'm talking to this local, and she's so beautiful, and like he's like romanticizing the fact that she is from Mexico, and I'm sure that she is romanticizing the fact that he is a U.S. citizen, and like there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to say
Yeah.
that there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. I think that maybe the element of like putting down like Western, like strong independent women is where this gets a little toxic. I
I did
do
not
think,
like the Wicked. That
yeah,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
that
I,
was
yeah.
I,
I did not
I
like that at
I
all.
agree. You're like drinking too much of the Kool-Aid of like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being independent and being driven and like speaking up for yourself and
In
all that
fact,
kind
it's
of
very
stuff.
sexy to be
Agreed.
all those
Truth.
things.
But I do think that your maybe analogy, if that's the right word, of just being like, this guy is romanticizing that she is Mexican and she's romanticizing that he's American. Like people sometimes have those fairy tale thoughts of, the growing up, both of our parents are Israeli. And
Yeah.
so, having Israelis come to America and being like, ooh, that, or like when I'm in Israel and, seeing
My
the
mom
women in
always
the
joked,
army and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff,
my
like
mom
growing
always
up.
was like, I wanna marry an Israeli man. Like
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
I remember her saying that when I was young. She's like, I really want an Israeli man. And she married one.
My mom makes
So
the joke to not get sucked in by the accent, but
yeah, it's hard.
it is.
Um, well, why don't we do just a round the horn final thought? Today feels I just feel better. I mean, I hope you guys feel better after chatting.
Yeah, this is therapy for us, man. It
It
always feels
literally
good
is.
at the at the end of an episode.
It does.
Oh man, honestly, still single. Um, Webbs, you want to kick us off with a final thought?
Woo! Okay. Life's a journey. All right. Life's a
Yeah, really think
journey.
about it. Really think about it.
Oh God.
And just get it in there.
All right. I think where I'm at is, just go one step at a time, everybody. Let's just go one step at a time. Focus on taking care of yourself. That's never a bad move. And there's parts of myself that I'm still realizing I don't want to be there. I'm so grateful that those parts are less and less and less, and those parts come out less and less, but they're still there and they're still not what I want. So I think working on those while also, like Jordan said, having some gratitude and some compassion and some grace for how far you've come and where you are, and a bit of excitement about what might happen, and release a little bit of that pressure. I think I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself in career and love of, I thought I'd be maybe somewhere that I'm not right now, and I think I need to have a bit more gratitude and appreciation for where I'm at.
Snaps.
Yeah.
Snaps.
Show me. Thank you.
Jay, I'll let you finish off the episode.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna just jump right in if
Yeah,
that's okay.
feels like you want it so bad. So go for it.
So I posted a TikTok yesterday about being on the same trail, but on a different path. And the idea is like in my day to day, I'm doing similar things that I did when Noelle was still alive. I'm trying to take care of my daughter. I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm on this like similar trail. I'm driving by places that I used to, frequent with Noelle. And there's obviously things that bring up grief. However, I've also acknowledged that I'm on a different path. Like the path that I'm on right now is just different than it was 5 years ago. It's different than it was 12 months ago. And knowing, like not knowing where the path is going to end is a very freeing and liberating feeling. And I'm just trusting I'm on a path. It's different. And I'm just going to keep going forward. And wherever I end up, it's okay. It's where I'm supposed to be.
Snaps.com.
All rights reserved. It's kind of like stamps.com, but snaps.
We ship snaps right to your house. Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes you need that. I signed up for like a stamp collection thing when I was a kid, just so I would get mail as a kid. Like once a month, they would send me this like newsletter thing, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even collect stamps. Like, I wish I kind of explored it a bit more. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts for me in my life right now, which are very exciting, and I am just trying to lay down, like, stay as level-headed and knowing that how bad things were for me just a couple months ago, that it's like, okay, great. Like things are good, but we want to make a change here. We really want to make an impact in where we're going moving forward. And I think in the past, looking at some of the companies that I worked for, some of the people that I made connections with, I was very just like, I don't want to say dismissive, but just being like, this isn't for me right now. And so let me just go to the next thing, what's the next thing? And so I have a great background because it's like, what's the next thing? But there's something in me right now that's just kind of being like, let's be patient and see some stuff through, and let's push that through. So a little, I'm giving an update a little like flying high over the radar, but still just kind of being like, that's kind of where my head's at, and nothing's official till it's official. So once it is, I'll let you guys know. But good things on the horizon, and just kind of feeling good and trying to spread that calmness, and I can only control what I can do.
Now you collect snaps.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
Now
Thank
you
you.
collect snaps from snaps.com.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great episode, guys. I love you both so much. I'm here for you both. And I'm here for our listeners. You can always DM us on Instagram at We Are Still Single. And if you don't mind, we haven't gotten a review on Apple Podcasts in a while. And I kind of check it like weekly. So just write like a little love the pod. You guys are so hot, especially the Jake Gyllenhaal doppelganger, Jordan Kahana. And it'll just make our day. We really do appreciate you guys, and send in questions for next week, and just take care of yourselves. We really, I think, take care of yourselves. That's all I got.
It's great. Love you, dudes. Love you
Love
all.
you guys.
Love you.